Hello, thank you for joining us today. My name is Justin Harris. I'm a solutions architect with CrowdStrike.
And my name is Jaime Franklin. I'm Director of Global Solution Architecture, focusing on the cloud for CrowdStrike.
So I just want to start off by talking about today's agenda. First off, we're going to talk about customer challenges. So Jaime and I spend a lot of time talking to customers across different organizations. And what we're going to do today is just talk about some of the common challenges that our customers are experiencing. We're then going to move on to talk about the AWS Shared Responsibility model. And we're going to do that really to help you understand where our security products fit into that security model and how they work well with AWS's native security tools, and how using a combination of the two, you get better security outcomes and a better security posture, an improved security posture. We're then going to talk briefly about why CrowdStrike. So we want to talk a little bit about what we think differentiates us in the market and what makes us a good choice for you as a security partner. Then talk a tiny bit about best practices. So moving to the cloud means we have to think in a slightly different way. We have to put in slightly different control mechanisms, and allows us to think about doing security in a slightly different way. So we're going to talk about some of those best practices that you can adopt as you move to the cloud, or if you're in the cloud and you're looking to improve your security posture. And then just a couple of key takeaways from the session. So first off, let's talk about some of the challenges that face both our customers and ourselves, CrowdStrike, as operators in the cloud and in particular in AWS. So the attacks are becoming more sophisticated and the attack vectors are changing slightly. So a few years ago, a lot of attacks were based on malware and different malware variants. We then saw a shift to more sophisticated techniques like fileless attacks. And with the move to the cloud, we've seen attack vectors shift again, where we now see attack vectors based on misconfigurations or attacks based on identity. So misconfigurations on identity are something extra that we need to think about. The solutions that can become more complex. So we have to work hard to integrate our solutions well. With the move to the cloud, we get additional monitoring tools. We get more things that we can monitor, more ways that we can remediate. And if it's done well, it can work really well for us, but we have to make sure that it doesn't result in additional complexity. The skills to do things in the cloud are in short supply. Lots of companies are moving to the cloud in a big way, moving to AWS, and lots of companies are looking for those same skills. And the cloud presents us with many opportunities. So one of the fantastic things about AWS is that everything is presented as an API. So in the past, traditional IT teams would have been responsible for the infrastructure and standing up that infrastructure for developers, development teams, or other users to use. Now that everything's presented as an API, I as an individual or as a member of the development team can go ahead and spin up my own infrastructure, and the IT teams, the traditional IT teams with their controls and their checks and balances, won't necessarily have visibility over that infrastructure. So we have to work hard to try and make sure we understand the infrastructure that's being deployed on behalf of our organizations. So let's look briefly at the AWS Shared Responsibility model. So I'm sure you've heard this before, but just to recap, AWS's responsibility is to secure the cloud. So they have responsibility of the cloud. And we have responsibility to secure the applications and the data that's associated with those applications. So when we look at securing the data themselves, again, AWS not only secures the cloud for us, but it gives us some great security tools in order to secure those applications. So Macie, GuardDuty, inspector, config, to name but a few. And this is where we fit in alongside AWS, and we complement AWS, is that we provide security at the process level with our Falcon agent that deploys under workloads. And with our Horizon product that we're also going to talk about in this session, we also help to improve your cloud security posture. So when CrowdStrike was founded, the founders decided that in order to be successful in the market, they had to do things better. And when they talk about doing things better, they focus on three principles, which is better protection, better performance, and better time to value. So when we look at better protection, really the Falcon agent that's deployed into workloads has very, very sophisticated detection mechanisms. So from day one, it was written to make sure that it could detect both malware variants and fileless attacks. And then when we look at better performance, the agent is an extremely lightweight agent. It has a very small memory footprint, it has a very small CPU footprint. And from that, it deploys a number of techniques like artificial intelligence and machine learning. So it can work both in an online and an offline mode. And then we have our threat graph product that's in the cloud that really gives you fantastic security intelligence to allow you to make decisions quickly and take remediation actions quickly. So from that, we give you a very lightweight product, so it's very easy to deploy. So when we talk about better time to value, you can install the Falcon agent immediately on any number of workloads. It's the same agent architecture that works across all workloads, whether that's EC2 or containers, or your laptop that you're running on-prem or a server that's running on-prem. You get the same level of data, you get the same instrumentation data from those agents. And then the data that we present in the console allows incident investigators or your source teams to make quicker and more informed responses. So your time between detection and remediation reduces significantly. So when CrowdStrike was founded, it was founded on three principles, in that we had to provide better protection, better performance, and better time to value. So when we talk about better protection, what we do with the Falcon endpoint agent is that we employ a different way of doing things. The agent is very lightweight, and it deploys a number, and it uses a number of different detection techniques to detect and block attackers. So it not only does it block traditional malware, but it blocks the sophisticated techniques that we talked about, the fileless attacks. With the better performance, we use a number of these techniques, as I said, the artificial intelligence and the machine learning, to really give you a better performant agent that uses less CPU and less memory. And the agent can also be installed into any workload. We use a common agent architecture that allows us to deploy against the EC2, containers, your physical servers, and laptops for your end users. We give you the same telemetry data, and we give you the same detection capabilities across all those workloads. It's very lightweight in terms of CPU, and it can be used in an online and an offline mode. So in terms of better time to value, it's really about the quality of the data and the way that we present the data to you. So the agent is very good. It presents us a lot of rich data, which then goes into a product called our threat graph. And the threat graph essentially merges together our raw data from our agents together with our threat intelligence that we take from a number of different feeds, from artificial intelligence and machine learning through to analysts, and all that combined together results in better detection on the endpoint, and also gives analysts and operators who are doing incident response and incident analysis better data that allows them to make better quality decisions faster. So it gives you immediate time to value. We're also a SaaS-based service, so there's nothing to deploy. There's no barriers to deployment. So our infrastructure, because we're cloud-based, can scale with you. So you can start realizing the value immediately after subscribing with CrowdStrike. So we're going to talk about some best practices, and I'm going to ask Jaime to discuss some of the best practices that we would recommend for you.
So thanks, Justin. So as we look at security and how security gets integrated into the cloud, we get lots of questions about how do we fit into the DevOps pipeline, into a CI/CD pipeline, and when you look at the flow from the deployment of again, trying to come alongside our customers who are utilizing AWS's API and trying to build services that can also use those same APIs while also exposing the APIs from our platform to make it easier for customers to integrate and build our product sets, our solutions, our platform into a customer cloud environment. And so from a deployment perspective, and we'll dive into these a little bit deeper with specific examples, but as we look at that deployment example of leveraging the API, making it easy to be able to take and leverage our product sets to registration from an account perspective for visibility to the actual sensors that will be running on the cloud workloads. And then that's how we start to drive our services. So from a protection perspective, as we look at deployment of EDR in the cloud and why EDR in the cloud is important, and the machine learning aspects that Justin was talking about from our SaaS console, and what that does from our threat graph to being able to provide protection and prevention of attacks that may be happening based on behavioral analytics that we can leverage to make it to help secure our customers. And then as we look at the monitoring aspect of that, as Justin said, the new paradigm of now from an identity perspective, and identity being the new edge to your environment, to your architecture, and how we can actually leverage the monitoring aspects so that we can move away from the shadow IT functionality, as well as provide some functionality to be able to help from a compliance perspective, and in addition to misconfiguration. And so as we take that monitoring functionality and leverage that, so now that we can draw in the analytics that we need, so that we can then feed this back into the AWS native services as well as our own platform, so that we can help them so that they can work together, so that we can build in response and leverage that response through integrations into Security Hub, where now we can leverage the intel that's happening from within the cycle, and to be able to allow customers to respond and increase their security efficacy. So we'll get into more of those integration points and exactly what this does, but it's just feeding into this DevOps pipeline, into the CI/CD pipeline, and being able to have solutions that can make it easier for customers to leverage our platform and the AWS native tools to be able to deliver enterprise class security. Thank you, Justin.
Thank you. So really the thing to emphasize with this slide is that, as we talked about earlier, we use a common agent architecture that can be deployed across any workload wherever you are. So that can be anything from your users' laptops to your physical servers to containers. So in all cases, the agent will give you the same protection mechanisms. It will also present you the same data. So if you're running a Windows server in the cloud, or you're running a Windows server in the physical data center, or a Linux server in the data center, you're going to get the same detection capabilities and the same data from those sensors that would go into our threat graph. So when we look at deployment, as Jaime talked about, really what we want to emphasize here is it's okay having a great security product, but if it's going to be successful for you and something that you want to use in the cloud, it's got to be easy to use, and it's got to be able to fit in with your existing or your future cloud processes. So when we're focusing on deployment, and we'll first focus on the deployment of the endpoint agent, We can do that in all the ways that you would expect to be able to do things in the cloud. So we can use custom AMIs. So you can bake the agent into your custom AMIs and then use security policies and IAM policies to restrict your users to using those pre-approved AMIs. We can use Systems Manager. So we can use Systems Manager to push out the Falcon agent to any workload that is being managed by Systems Manager. And if we're using more DevOps techniques like workloads that are part of an autoscale group, we can use scripted installs with user data and then lifecycle hooks to manage the lifecycle of those instances within the Falcon console. So once the workload is destroyed or terminated in the autoscale group, it can be removed from the console immediately or after a period of time. So the second thing I wanted to focus on is a little bit of the deployment, and it's also a little bit about protection again. So the other product we're going to talk about is Horizon, which is our cloud security posture management solution. And one of the things that we do when we roll out Horizon is that we need a few attributes to be placed into an account. And we've leveraged Control Tower to do this, so that the rollout of those new accounts with the monitoring solution is all part of your standard processes. So you would use Account Factory or something similar to roll out your account, and then that account will be monitored by Horizon immediately without you having to take any further action. So in this case, we just push a stack set as part of the account creation, and everything's taken care of. And then from that point of view, then Horizon will go on and start to monitor your accounts. So I'm just going to ask Jaime to talk over some of the benefits of Horizon with you.
Sure. So as we look at Horizon, as we mentioned earlier, the API visibility, the ability, as we talk to our CISOs or our customer CISOs and we talk to our customers, one of the things that we hear often is the fear of the shadow IT function that's going on or could potentially be going on, especially in the cloud. And so as we look at leveraging AWS's native tools and integrating our services into that to make it easy to drive outcomes for customers, we really look at Horizon as being able to help our customers understand and gain visibility to all of their entire cloud footprint and automate that to make it easy for them to gain that visibility. So once you have the visibility, now we can start looking at, from a configuration perspective, what my environment looks like, making sure that the guidelines that I've set or the guardrails that I've put in place for each of our accounts from a security perspective are being followed, and having a way to be able to generate reporting on that, and also validation to make sure that enforcement from a cloud hygiene perspective, or that we're meeting those requirements that we've set for our cloud accounts. And so Horizon ties in and gives you that visibility. And if we can extend that through the native services so that it makes it easy to make sure that every account that's created within Account Factory and a service such as Control Tower can now be extended to make sure that every single account that's created now has that base configuration and is tied into the visibility that we have, so that we can monitor and manage those accounts, and as well as giving me the ability to just archive and make sure that I meet compliance. So Horizon really helps our customers achieve that, and we're building that into the native tools to drive outcomes and positive security outcomes for our customers.
Okay, so a very common question that comes up with our customers is, okay, so how can I use your tools within AWS? So I've selected AWS. I'm very keen to use their security products. They do a great job for me. So again, if we look at Macie, Config, GuardDuty, the new network firewall service that's recently been announced, they all provide great protection. And we work very, very hard to make sure that our products work with and complement the existing AWS services. So this slide I've got here just really demonstrates one of the integrations. We've talked about some of them already. You'll see an announcement from us soon, if not already, about our integration with the new AWS Network Firewall. We've discussed briefly an integration with Systems Manager and Control Tower. And today I want to talk about our integration with Security Hub. So Security Hub is a great tool for consolidating all the feeds from AWS security products. So it'll take feeds from GuardDuty, from Macie, from Config, to name a few. And really what we've done is just send or present what we would call incidents or detections in Security Hub. So you can view it in the same place, you get the same level of detail, and you can take action based on it, based on the data that we present in the findings. So in terms of this workflow, what we show in the diagram here is an EC2 instance that is running our Falcon Protection Agent, and it detects something suspicious. So it's either going to alert or it's going to block some suspicious activity. We raise that as something called a detection in the Falcon console. And then what we do via the two APIs, so again, this is API to API integration that Jaime talked about, we send the details of that detection into Security Hub. So if Security Hub is your main tool for monitoring your AWS environment, you're going to see that detection in Security Hub. You've then got two choices. In this scenario, you could create, or you could use a custom action to then quarantine that host at the network layer as well, either with a security group or with the new AWS Network Firewall. Or you can link back to the Falcon console and drill in at the process level to give you an understanding of the who, what, when, and how that maybe that malware variant got onto the device, or why that device started to talk out to a command and control server. And really what Falcon is doing is presenting an extra level of detail that you don't get within Security Hub. So it's giving you that visibility at the process level that we talked about.
Just to add into that, Justin, so as we looked and we talked about earlier from that CI/CD or DevOps pipeline of that taking from a protection perspective, so our sensor and what our sensor is seeing, and then leveraging that from a monitoring perspective of what's happening in the environment, and then leveraging that into an actual security efficacy where we can now push from a response, allow our customers to actually take what we're seeing real time and to then leverage that to increase their posture by pushing that suspicious activity into a block mode or an alert mode, leveraging our platform with the AWS native services. So it makes it easy for that continuous cycle to be able to help our customers so that they can respond and secure their cloud environments, their applications, and their services.
Okay, so just some key takeaways. So some of the points that we hope we've emphasized and we hope you understand about CrowdStrike. So streamlining DevOps and SecOps, and really this is twofold. So what we're trying to emphasize here that we're easy to deploy, we're easy to consume in the cloud. We fit in alongside those native AWS services, and we complement them. So we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We're just purely trying to make sure that we add value where we can. The agent's very easy to install. There's no reboot required when you need to, if you're talking about installing the agent. If you're looking at the posture side with Horizon, it can all be set up at the account creation stage, so there's nothing to do. It's going to appear in your console, and it's going to immediately start providing you value in terms of reporting on the status of your environment. Unified visibility. So we use the same agent architecture across all workloads. So you get, if you're talking about Linux, you get the same visibility and control across all Linux workloads, no matter where they are. If we're talking Windows, it's the same. You get the same visibility and control for Windows workloads wherever they are. And secure and respond. So we work hard to make sure that we can provide integrations that allow you to take either automated, we can either automate those remediations if you choose to do it, or we can put a security administrator in the loop if you choose to do that. So in this case, we've got with Security Hub, we can either fully automate a response to an incident, or we can allow an operator to take a remediation action based on a custom action. We give you the raw data, so you're able to make those choices about how you want to respond. So a quick call to action. If you visit the CrowdStrike website and follow this URL, you can see a demo of the product. There's a link in the slides from additional resources for the products we talked about. So we talked about Cloud Workload Protection, we talked about Horizon, and we've talked about some of the security services. So thank you very much for joining us today. I have one more request if you don't mind, and that's if you could please complete the session survey. We really appreciate it. So thank you very much from me.
Thank you.